Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So the ceasefire indeed broke this morning at 7 a.m. Jerusalem time. Yesterday I posted a video in which I mentioned the fact that Israel's war cabinet yesterday failed to reach a full agreement in continuing the temporary ceasefire and stopping the re-escalation and the continuation of the war. So what happened previously? Well, there was a temporary ceasefire, a hudna, between Hamas and Israel for 4 days, during which the Palestinians will release 10 Israeli women and children in return for 30 women and children from Israeli. That was extended by a further 2 days, and there were hopes of reaching an all-out ceasefire that will be complete. As a matter of fact, the heads of the CIA, the Mossad, Egyptian, Qatari intelligence met in Qatar a few days ago, a meeting that I also discussed in another video, and they were talking about the potential of reaching a full ceasefire and a large prisoner swap between Israel and the Palestinian movement. So, how did we get here? Well, there were hopes of continuing the ceasefire. In the meantime, during the days of the ceasefire, Benjamin Netanyahu had pressure from his closest allies in the government and some in the Israeli society of, what are you doing? Basically, you have completely failed. You told us you're going to demolish Hamas. Now you're talking to them. They're still showing off and getting out, and they can still bomb us. And, you know, we haven't done anything to their military power, and we need to completely wipe them off. So why are you stopping? On the other hand, he's facing a lot of criticism and pressure from the families of the prisoners in Israel. So they want them out, and they're seeing people leaving Gaza, and they want their relatives to be the ones who will be out next. The thing that led us to reach this point primarily was the fact that we have almost ended completely with the women and children. So anyone under the age of 18 and almost all women, Israelis who were held by Hamas and the Palestinian movements in Gaza have been released. So we were now talking about the second stage. Israel told Hamas previously, we're willing to add a day of ceasefire so long as you release 10 Israeli more hostages. Now, Israel knew what it wanted with this, because you calculated within 20 days you'll be done if 50 have been released so far. If we do that 20 days, done. Hamas are not stupid though. They know that the weight and level of the prisoners that they have means much more to Israel. So now we're done with the civilians, the women and those under 18, not reservist age, non-combatants. We're reaching reservist age. So you're talking about Israelis who can actually fight and join the IDF, and then you're talking about the actual Israeli army, the Israeli army personnel, soldiers and generals that were held by Hamas since on the 7th of October. So these mean a lot to Israel. And the problem is here, as time is ticking, Hamas are gaining more secrets from these people. Don't forget that the Gaza brigade, the Israeli Gaza brigade that Hamas imprisoned, the soldiers and generals within the Gaza brigade, they are the most important people when it comes to Gaza particularly. You obviously have other intelligence agencies who know what's happening in Gaza, but their main focus is on Gaza. So Hamas got many documents and electronic devices, computers from them, and just imagine what other information they can get out of them in terms of intel, plans, any spy networks, if they had any spy networks in Gaza, and weakness points that might be relevant for Hamas. So With each day that passes, they're getting more information from these people, and that's something that the Israelis know very well. And some people are also pressing on that side that, look, they have top-level army personnel and generals, and we can't leave them for too long in Gaza. So that's the main problem. There's another thing. Antony Blinken, he was in Tel Aviv yesterday. So he, again, you know, the Americans come, the American officials come, and they give the blessing for the massacres. This is what usually happens. Last time the war, Israel was attacked, the Blinken came, Biden came, leaders came. Yes, you know, we go ahead, absolutely, flatten them, kill them, annihilate Gaza. So this is what happened again. He went there and he was like, Hamas was the problem, and they prevented they basically broke the ceasefire by not adhering to Israel's conditions. And now Israel has a right to continue the war, okay? In terms of the continuation of the war, it's not only the prisoner situation and the hostage situation in Gaza. Like I said, it's also about pleasing the people who want the war to continue, and it's about Netanyahu saving face primarily with the people who are closest to him. So the people who actually broke the ceasefire are the Israelis and the Israeli government, with a massive support from America as usual, because Israel wouldn't have continued this war unless it got the okay from America. And every time Antony Blinken comes, this person is like a witch, or I don't know, whatever you want to call him, a devil. He comes in, he gives them the okay, and they start bombing. So up until this is very recent, just minutes ago, the health ministry in Gaza said that the number of people brutally killed in Gaza today has reached 178 people. 178 people Israel killed today with its bombings on Gaza, and 589 injured. Now imagine this was the opposite just for 1 second. No one's calling this a massacre in the mainstream media, Western mainstream media. No one's calling it nothing. Innocent people. On the other hand, obviously you have retaliation from Hamas and the other Palestinian fighters on Israel. They have launched rockets on the southern part of Israel, the cities and towns surrounding Gaza, Bi'r al-Saba', Beersheba, and Tel Aviv, which is the center of Israel, which also reiterates again that Hamas's military power hasn't reduced. They're still able to hit deep in Israel with full force, and they even took down a couple of tanks as well today. So that's what happens, what's happening at the moment in Gaza. What are we expected to see in the next coming days? Well, there are a couple of scenarios. The first scenario is Israel tones it down, because the official note, the official statement from the government said, we will negotiate, the government officially said, we will negotiate prisoner swap under fire. This is what they want. Which brings us down to point zero. It didn't work before. Why on earth would you think it would work again? The only reason you reached a ceasefire, a temporary ceasefire agreement with Hamas, is because you knew you couldn't beat them. So you followed their conditions, which included a ceasefire. You can't fly over Gaza during the prisoner exchange time, and you get aid in Gaza. So why are you thinking that this is going to work now? From my perspective, I think it's primarily to silence the side that's saying we need to continue up until we annihilate them, and then they can tell them, well, look, here we had a temporary ceasefire, and we began again, but it again didn't work. So we have no other way but to do it this way and have a complete ceasefire. Again, that won't please everyone in Israel. It won't please Bezalel Smotrich, for example, a senior minister in the government. He said that we need to continue with full force and we don't want any humiliation. So it could be a case of Israel trying to please the hardliners in the government and create somewhat of a situation in the Israeli public opinion that we did indeed continue, but now we have no other choice and we need to move on to a permanent ceasefire. Another scenario is they're going to continue doing what they do, which is the more dangerous scenario. Now, to be completely honest with you, the situation is almost impossible when it comes to Israel, because even if you reach a ceasefire now, it's always temporary. Every few years there's a war in Gaza, because no one is dealing with the root cause of the problem. The root cause of the problem isn't Gaza. The root cause of the problem isn't Hamas. The root cause of the problem is the historical rights of the Palestinian people. Equality, justice, rights for the Palestinian people, having refugees' right to return, giving them right to move freely, have a one person, one vote system between the river to the sea. The problem is, obviously, Israel was established as an ethno-state, an ethno-religious supremacist state, and it treats everyone, apart from the Jewish people in Israel, as Class B citizens, let alone the Palestinians in Gaza and in the West Bank. So they can continue, but this time it could potentially increase to something far, far bigger. So what we witnessed during the first round is a very mild version of Hezbollah from Lebanon, for example. Yeah, they kept Israel busy. They didn't go all out. But over 100,000 Israeli settlers were removed from the border, so they had to go to hotels. Over a third of the IDF has been focusing on Lebanon. Air Force, military personnel, etc., tanks and all of these things. That took the pressure off them. But they haven't used all of their force, so they didn't attack with full force at all. They only had attacks surrounding the Israel-Lebanese border. The Yemenis haven't said it all as well. Neither did the Iraqis. And no official state involvement happened in the previous round. So you're playing with fire if you think you can continue, if you're Israel, and you think you can continue without reaching a level of... So you had, for example, the Jordanian prime minister. He said it could reach a stage of war. Like, for example, if they take out the Palestinians from Gaza or from the West Bank, it's like a declaration of war. They also had the harsher tone from Egypt. No one obviously threatened them in a manner which is sufficient enough to prevent the massacres from happening, which is a very big problem. They feel like they can commit these crimes against humanity, these atrocities, without any deterrence. But still, you don't know where things can escalate. So Iran, as a state, as a whole, didn't do anything. It's just its allies. Turkey hasn't done anything. You can have a very big, wide escalation that many people said could potentially lead to a world war. So can America handle that with its loss in Ukraine, with Russia? No one knows. But the coming days will let us know if this is going to be escalating further, and I will keep you updated in the next video. Take care.